Happy Sunday, everyone. Or, well, maybe not Sunday, depending on where and when you're watching this video, but that's not the point. Anyways, today is the day that I'm going to be unveiling my top 10 characters overall for patch 4.3. And I have decided to do these videos towards the end of the patch cycle, that way we can look at this going into the next patch, and it's giving me a chance to fully use all of the characters to see if they make the list or not. So going forward, this will be the case for this top 10, whereas the other free-to-play and tier list will be more towards the beginning and middle of the patch. And speaking of the tier list, that will be what helped me decide my opinions for this top 10, and of course I welcome any and all criticisms for both the tier list and my top 10 today. I will also leave a link to the tier list in the description below, as well as at the end of the video in case anyone missed it this time around, as the A and S tier characters from that list is what I'll be taking into consideration for this patch's top 10. But anyways, enough of that for now, and without further ado, let's get into it. And just as a very quick reminder, this is a little screen cap here of my tier list here, and this is the A and the S tier category of which we'll be considering for the top 10 list today. And the new additions for this list is Baron Zemo and Doc Ock from this patch. Will they make the top 10 though? We'll have to wait and see. Otherwise, the rest of these characters, these are the characters that I believe are basically the top characters in the game at the given moment, for better or for worse. So let's find out if any of them change their spots or get added to the list. Now, this was a bit of a pick that I struggled to make. Minerva is being moved down from the previous position of rank 9 to 10 in this patch's top 10 list and starting it off. Now, Minerva herself doesn't really contribute all that much to the game in terms of arena normally, but she is a very key character for endgame progression, particularly in Dark Dimension 2 and 3, but also she is still a very strong character to use in raids, whether you're a newer, mid-game, or late-game player. Not too long ago, we did also have the Minerva calendar in July, so I'm hoping that this might lead to her being more farmable in the near future. But it also gave everyone a chance to unlock her free to play as well if you were playing at this time. But why is she so great? She has a really strong kit that largely isn't reliant on how many star levels she has. Her basic is kind of basic. It does apply bleed, but it also applies regeneration to the most injured ally. Her special is really amazing though. It does a bit of healing, but it revives a dead ally to 40% max health with two death moves. This is great for raids and Dark Dimension content and on a much shorter cooldown than other revivers like Doctor Strange. Now, her ultimate is why she's known as one of the top Dark Dimension characters, and that's because of her ability to steal 15% of max health from all enemies and redistributing to your allies. And at least in Dark Dimension 2 and 3, this is usually a full heal and does a large amount of damage due to how many enemies are on the field and how much HP they have. The redistribution also bypasses heal block and applies additional regens on allies and bleeds on enemies, paired up with extra ability energy generation, and this was a pretty common tactic for clearing out Dark Dimension 2, and still kind of is. And while you could use other characters, she is highly recommended. Now, in terms of raids, her passive is quite useful, as every time an enemy dies, it heals 15% up to the most injured ally, 15% of her max health rather, to the most injured ally. And this can snowball rapidly in raids when you're killing enemies quickly, and it is an easy way to heal them back up. I don't need to use her as frequently as I used to previously, but I can't understate the usefulness of this skill and how great of a character she really is. And this is why she has landed the number 10 slot for me starting this list off. And I also do want to say that if you are looking for shards for Minerva, unfortunately, she is a premium character. So you can only find her in the premium orb at a 2% chance. So unfortunately, it's a bit of good luck getting shards on her, because even I don't have her maxed out yet, and I've been playing for some time. Now, Mr. Sinister did get a bit of a downgrade on the list from last time, being shifted from number 7 to number 9 this time around. But that's because I think that while he is a truly amazing character, I have been using him a little bit less in game modes outside of War and Dark Dimension 3 these days. I do personally think that Sinister will stand the test of time because of his cloning capabilities, since he can do that on anyone, including newer characters, and be able to bring that character's kit to your side of the field. So for that reason, I think he is a very future-proofed character. So first we'll start off with his ultimate clone. Now, while the ability is on a cooldown of 6, he spawns with 3 ability energy at the start of the fight, making this a turn 1 ability. All of the stats of the clone also scales off of him, so making Sinister as strong as you can get him will benefit the clone as well. Also, by having this ability at level 7, it allows the clones to have 7/7/7/5 abilities without having to T4 any of the others. And really, he is the only character to have this thing, so usually when there's summons and things like that, you actually have to get the corresponding ability to T4. In this case, you just have to T4 the clone to get those abilities, which is awesome. His special is also a pretty good heal on his cooldown of 5 overall, but synergizes really well with other mutant characters. It clears heal block for the 2 most injured allies, gives him 2 turns of offense up, and then any of the buffs that he has is spread to all other mutant and cloned allies as well, which can be pretty amazing, and the heal portion is fairly decent, all things considered. It synergizes further with Mystique by taking her buffs and transferring it to him as well, but I'm going to be focusing more on his general skills. It's got a lot of Marauders related text on him. His passive is really loaded with Marauders text, and I'm not going to go through it all, but he does on turn heal himself for quite a bit of health, and it can also apply regen to other injured mutant allies, so for this reason he is a really good choice to take into Dark Dimension 3 global lane, since a lot of the good characters used here are mutants, such as Phoenix, Colossus, and even Emma Frost if you choose. Overall, Sinister has a very strong kit. I don't think he is used so much in Ultima 7, but beyond that, I think he is a great character, and I bet he'll definitely be popping in and out of the game modes into the future, and will be a great character for quite a while. And if you're looking for shards for Sinister, you can find him in the Alliance War Supply Store where he was added. Definitely someone you want to get as strong as possible. Now, it doesn't actually show it here on the list, but I assure you he is in the War Store. It just only shows on the Find button in the War Store if he's actually there currently, so don't worry too much about that. So this time around, Emma Frost actually didn't move positions for me from last video, and some might give me some flack for this because I know there are a lot of people out there who will tell me that Emma Frost deserves to be higher than this, but you can't please everyone. So I apologize if this isn't what you're expecting. From what I understand, though, she's made considerable contribution to Arena, even being able to beat some Black Order in some cases with a Marauder team. She is useful in all raids where she can be used, with her passive giving permanent speed down to everyone, and some even have her used out in Dark Dimension 3 global lane as a support character in that regard. Definitely one to watch and keep an eye out in the future as the game progresses to see what more use she might have and get with both her team and as a standalone character. Now, it is the passive I really want to draw people's attention to, though, and that's largely the minus 10% speed to all enemies. She does also heal herself on turn for a fair bit of health as well, but it's the speed thing that really makes her her. And on top of this, her cooldowns on her special and ultimate are quite short at 3 and 4 respectively, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, starting with Diamond Form, she basically is able to clear all negative effects from herself and all allies while slowing the enemy team and applying immunity to self and any other mutant villains that you happen to have on your team. Her ultimate is a combination of Loki's mind control with the ability to blind and clear positive effects, so she does clear all positive effects from enemies and can mind control up to 2 characters, both enemy or allies, to deal additional damage, and if they happen to kill the single target, then it will apply blind to a second character as well, which is really nice. So she has a really interesting and really lengthy kit actually here. Overall, she plays her control tag very well and adds a lot to the team with regard to positive and negative status effects, and that permanent speed decrease is amazing. As of this video, her first milestone has come and finished, but likely there will be a second one coming in the not-so-distant future, so save up that gold, as that's largely the primary way to get through the milestones and get more shards for Emma Frost. So, my boy Robot Ultron gets a bit of a list improvement, moving up from number 10 to number 7. After some more careful consideration and feedback after the last video, that is why I placed him here. Some people might be surprised at this one, but I'll try to explain why. First off, he is a bit of an older character and has been around for well over a year now, but he is the reward from Dark Dimension 2, and rightly so. He has a very incredible kit and was very well known for being super overpowered at the time and used in just about every single game mode, from Arena to Raids, Alliance War, and finishing off the second run of Dark Dimension 2. His basic attack is very strong by doing quite a bit of damage and stealing 2 positive effects from the enemy. This can be quite useful in clearing taunts as well, or just taking buffs in general, but the combination of the rest of his kit is why he's so impressive. His special is a summoning move that triggers up to 3 different minion bots, on top of giving himself and the bots 2 turns of defense up. These bots are just bonkers. Basically, each one of them do a different thing. The Incinerator steals buffs, and provides offense up. The Accelerator knocks turn bar back on the basic and gives speed up to Ultron and others, and the green guy here, he heals people and clears debuffs off of Ultron. They also all do different things when they die, providing Ultron with buffs or turn bar, and these bots are surprisingly strong and hit quite hard. All of these buffs end up leading Ultron up to his ultimate Purge system, which is a huge single target attack for a crazy amount of piercing damage, and he gets 1 ability energy per buff he's got on himself, which normally leads to him picking up enough energy to summon more bots again, and then the train continues. And his passive also gives him the ability to revive once, and he can extend buffs on all villain tech characters, including himself. He's got a pretty loaded kit, but the reason why he doesn't rank any higher than this is because he can't get red stars. While this wasn't an issue about a year ago, it kind of is now, because he is slowly dropping off, and he is dying a lot quicker in modes like Dark Dimension 3, and even in Arena he does find it harder to stand up against the big guys such as the Black Order. Still though, he is an all-around amazing character, and still worth bringing up once you get him unlocked. Now, coming in at number 6 twice in a row is Thanos. Now, I do want to say this is taking into consideration both his regular form and his empowered state. I'm not going to be doing a rundown of everything he has to offer, but between both his forms, he is an amazing character, and frankly, the reason why he probably isn't higher is because requiring of the rest of the Black Order to achieve his, quote, final form. Thanos has been a common raid staple since his inception because of his passive Titan Eternal, which grants ability energy to adjacent cosmic characters on death, and I believe he was one of the few characters in the game upon release that had a 2-turn taunt on his special. He is an all-around beastly character that could stand his ground and was just made even better during the Black Order patch where he was given his empowered form. Now, if you don't know the power of empowered Thanos, then just watch any of my videos on the Black Order, or anyone else's for that matter. But basically, he is the destroyer of worlds in Marvel Strike Force at this point in empowered form. Black Order with Thanos dominates the arena and most game modes with the exception of raids due to the lack of the long-term sustainability that he has with this team. His kit is supercharged with an incredible powerful basic attack and being able to flip all negatives and positive effects on both sides of the field, permanently lowering damage and armor for all enemies, and a crazy AoE nuke on his ultimate that deals a ton of damage. But like I said, the reason why he is ranked where he is largely due to the fact that you need the other 4 to give him the Infinity Stones to obtain this form, and not everyone in the game is going to be able to unlock this form until they have the rest of the Black Order, including Ebony Maw. Still though, he is an amazing character, definitely, and despite being one of the older characters on this list, and even predating Ultron's release, but the patch really brought him around when the Black Order came out, and that's why he landed on this top 10 list again. If you are looking to farm Thanos shards, he is a bit of a later game farm. Unfortunately, he is in these milestone orbs, but aside from that, he is in Nexus 8 and 9, which is a bit of a late game farm that you need to be over level 74. So unfortunately, all I can say about Thanos shard farming is get lucky or get farming, for those who missed his raid event that was about 2 years ago, which was a lot easier to get shards back then, unfortunately. So this time around, Hela is landing herself 1 down from where she was last time, being shifted from the number 4 position to number 5. But hear me out on this. Her kit is really crazy good for a non-legendary to the degree that she probably could have been one. With the exception of very late game arena, she does hold a place in every other game mode as well. She still holds a strong position in raids, Alliance War, and Dark Dimension, both 2 and 3, and of course is a required character to unlock Black Bolt, so you're inevitably going to want her up anyways. A lot of her use comes from her passive, which spawns what we know as Greg the Undead as Guardian, but this isn't all of her tricks, although it is a very good one. So this minion, aka Greg, has some neat tricks. He can apply a heal block on his basic and blow himself up, causing bleeds, but the best part is that when he dies, he reduces the speed bar of all enemies by 10%, and he just comes right back to life because Hela keeps resummoning him. So this is great for multiple reasons, but whether it's campaigns or challenges or Dark Dimensions or raids, he's often the target by other enemies, whether intentionally or not, and this does knock everyone's turn bar back. This can happen quite frequently and is really great when it happens. It also heals herself or any other Asgardians when he dies as well. Her ability Death Knives is also really quite debilitating, doing a lot of damage by spreading quite a few negative status effects around from the primary target, with the exception of stun, and giving that to everyone on the field. I could go on for days about Hela, but given that she isn't a legendary and used in almost every other game mode, she definitely gets a nod from me. Now, if you do need shards for Hela, she can be found in the somewhat newer Villains 7-6 chapter, which is required. You do need level 70 plus to access this. So as far as farmable characters she goes, oh my god, I can't talk. She is definitely the number one there, but is still slightly behind some of the others on this list that we're going to get to. Now, we did get a swap in positions between Phoenix and Hela, making Phoenix the number 4 spot, and that's because really she's so powerful that despite not being used in raids all that often, I felt after further thought that she deserved it. Phoenix was the first, and let's hope only character that was a legendary released at a 6-star level. This was different from previous legendaries, and perhaps for good reason because of how strong she actually is. But really though, we can talk all about regular Phoenix, but we know it's really all about Dark Phoenix, so I'm going to spend a little bit more time talking about that. So when she dies, she triggers her second form, which is Dark Phoenix, and has a different kit that's completely just bonkers off the wall, and was and is to date, I would say, the single strongest kit in the game in terms of raw power. Her Dark Phoenix form is largely why she's so powerful in game modes like Arena, Alliance War, and particularly Dark Dimension, and why she's considered to be a staple and really the most necessary character for especially Dark Dimension 3. And really this is because of her special, which she gets to use right out of the gate after she dies and gets reborn. This drains 20% of all health from enemies and redistributes it to her, on top of applying regeneration to all allies. Now, this is the reason why she's so strong in Dark Dimension 3, for the same reason Minerva was, only this is a lot more easier to trigger because it can happen every single time Phoenix dies, or every day, or every time you bring her back in Dark Dimension. Without this one ability, Dark Dimension 3 would be made significantly harder, although one might argue that if she wasn't there, maybe it wouldn't have been designed in that way in the first place, but that's another conversation. Outside of this, everything in her kit is crazy. Her passive triggers an exploding AoE that hits every enemy and gives them 2 turns of defense down. This synergizes really well with her ultimate, which is another crazy AoE that attacks all enemies for tons of damage and clears all positive effects. The attack is unavoidable and is basically guaranteed to clear all positives. Even her basic is incredibly solid, with a splash damage attack that clears 2 positive effects on each target as well. I'm not going to go back into the rest of regular Phoenix's kit, but feel free to go back over it on your own time, but I still think to date, Phoenix and Dark Phoenix is one of the most bonkers kit creations to ever come to this game so far. And the reason why she isn't higher than this to me is largely because of her lack of usage in raids compared to the ones above her, as they tick off most of the rest of the boxes. Now, if you do need to obtain Phoenix still, you can do so by farming up Villain Mystic Controllers for her event, which is only 6 different characters at this point that include Mordo, Hela, Ronin, Nobu, Loki, and Hand Assassin to the 6-star level. So, if you don't have her, then make sure you work towards it, and you definitely won't regret it at all. And here we are with number 3 with Black Bolt, again, who has been and still is a very meta-defining character in Marvel's Strike Force. Not only is he the first legendary blaster character, but he is the king of Attilan, bringing the Strong Inhumans team together. That being said, he is an incredibly strong standalone character in every single game mode because of his kit, and he is required to unlock Ebony Maw. Black Bolt originally came out at a time where Ultron was still dominating the arena, and he came in and basically stole this from him through his passive, which basically made it so he couldn't revive upon death. So here it is: when an enemy drops below 25% health, attack that enemy for 200% damage. If that enemy is a villain tech character, attack that enemy for 400% instead. And then not only that, on enemy summon, apply Disrupt and clear 3 positive effects on the summoner. So he is still really amazing now. It strips all the buffs from him, and of course all the other stuff that comes alongside with that. Other than this, I would say his kit is fairly straightforward, but the damage numbers are just incredibly high. His ultimate does a crazy amount of AoE damage, with percentages higher than any other character to date. His special does a single target, high-powered attack that is unavoidable, and his basic is actually quite effective because he can flip his own negative effects if the enemy has slow, and also clear positive effects on his basic as well. Now, in order to unlock this bad boy, you need a full entourage of the Asgardians at 5-star and above, but he is also used to unlock Ebony Maw, as I mentioned, making him useful for multiple reasons. Definitely a character you should work to unlock if you don't have him, and likely will continue to be a very strong character for quite some time to come in this game. Alright, so Symbiote Spider-Man did get a reduction on the list from number 1 to number 2, but that's after some more thinking about who were at the top before and who I think deserve to be there. Despite this, number 2 is a very amazing standing, and Symbiote Spider-Man is an amazing character. Honestly, I think Symbiote Spider-Man has one of the best non-legendary kits in the game and is an incredibly strong standalone character in his own right. But aside from this, the Symbiotes team aren't even complete yet, which really opens them up to possibly surpassing even Black Order, possibly, in terms of their overall usage now that we have the confirmation on Scream, and probably Anti-Venom, who hasn't been officially confirmed as of this video, but he is highly speculated. Symbiote Spider-Man, though, is like OG Spider-Man, but on steroids, since really he does everything he can do, but like 10 times better. As basic, this is essentially OG Spider-Man's special, but better, because it's applying defense down for 2 turns to everyone that he hits on a rebound chain. His special attacks the primary target and adjacent target for damage, applies bleed, and extends all existing negatives for an additional turn, which depending on who he's teamed up with can be quite crippling. And his ultimate web slam is some pretty good damage, hitting all targets, applying stun to the primary, and 2 turns slow to everyone else. It's also unavoidable, which is really great for targeting those pesky dodger types like other Spider-Man characters, Vision and Daredevils and things like that. His passive is also why he is so bonkers in raids in Dark Dimension with the other symbiotes, which gives them all 100% drain in those game modes. And really, I can't understate that because it's absolutely bonkers. On top of this, they heal every time a negative status effect is applied, and he boosts all Symbiote and Hero Spider-Verse characters' health by 30% as well. The drain, though, is just super, super crazy. I can't believe that they actually gave him 100% drain. They can basically full heal themselves off in one move, without a doubt. One of the more bonkers additions to Marvel Strike Force, and the Symbiotes are only currently a 3-person team, which of course are going to be expanded, but it's just crazy like how strong they are. Now, this pick might be a bit controversial still, but given that he isn't a legendary character and has been a milestone character who will likely replace Captain Marvel in the milestone orbs, he is definitely one of the strongest characters to be released who hasn't been a legendary or has an alternate form like Thanos. Unfortunately, if you weren't able to unlock him, or, you'll have to wait to see what Scopely does to his farm ability, whether or not that's in the milestone orbs or somewhere else. Overall, a crazy character, and I highly recommend maxing this guy out. You won't regret it at all. Alright, and so as a honorable mention, I did want to bring up Dr. Octopus, aka Doc Ock, who is the newcomer of the patch cycle. Now, I want to talk a little bit about him, as he is the new legendary that has recently came out. He won't be formally making the top 10 list, but I did want to talk a bit about him, about his potential, and at least within Alliance War. And in case you weren't there for my live stream, I did manage to get a win against Black Order using Doc Ock and the Sinister Six, and that's what you're seeing behind me now. I didn't exactly know what I was doing in terms of kill order and things like that, but we did make it through the battle, and the fact that I still pulled out a win against arguably the strongest well-rounded team in the game is pretty impressive on its own. Now, in terms of his viability elsewhere, well, that's probably why he didn't actually make the list, since I think his raid viability is a little bit stunted due to the fact that his own survivability is largely based on his special providing regens and the occasional blocks that he does, which heals him as well. Now, however, I could see a mixed team with him being potentially being a 5th member for the symbiotes until perhaps we get Anti-Venom or whomever, as he can extend all of those negative status effects as well, which is great. He probably isn't all that necessary for Dark Dimension 3 either at the moment, as the symbiotes more than take care of those nodes, really. And in Arena, I don't really see him breaching the hybrid meta even at this point, so really, in terms of wider game impact, he probably only ticks about half of the game modes, and that is the reason why he is where he is, but I still thought that he deserved a shout out, being sort of the main attraction of patch 4.3. And taking the crown and the #1 spot on this list, it is Ebony Maw. I think he definitely has made his mark on this game with not only his general kit, but his ability to create empowered Thanos, so he's getting points for both of these reasons. Ebony Maw has uses in Arena, Raids, Alliance War, and Dark Dimension, so he takes off all of these boxes for me in terms of overall game usage. He's also one of these characters I would deem as a kit character who you don't have to have at a high star level for crazy value, but he does unlock at 5-star. But of course, if you want to take him into Dark Dimension 2 or 3, then you're going to need him at tier 13 and above anyways for that. He plays the support role really, really well with his special, as it's a combination really of Shuri's special and Invisible Woman's ultimate, minus the barrier portion. So applying defense down for 2 turns to all allies, and then offense down to all enemies for 2 turns. There is counter-related stuff here, but really it's for these parts here. Now his ultimate Force Transfusion is also taking Minerva's kit, but making it even better. So it drains 3% health from all enemies and then 4 additional times for a total of 15% and redistributes it to allies. Now it also applies slow to all enemies for 2 turns, which is crazy both in Raids and in Dark Dimension, and also if you're using him with the Black Order, it reduces speed bar from enemies by 5% per member and raises his and the Black Order's bar by 5% as well. His passive is what makes him super great in Raids at the moment. Beyond the stones that he gives Thanos, which triggers the empowered form, as I mentioned previously, it really comes from the text near the bottom here. And on the death of an enemy hero controller, gain charged, apply immunity to all enemies, and barrier allies for 20% of this character's max health. And if charged on enemy turn, apply ability block. So this is the sort of the anti-Phoenix portion of the kit. But so yeah, this is really great. Largely designed to, this part here is largely designed to counter Phoenix in Arena for the most part, although it can be used in some instances in Raids 2 if you're going on lanes in Ultima 6 or 7 that have a lot of hero controllers in it, making it easier to clear through. All in all, he has an amazing kit, lumping in characters like Shuri, Invisible Woman, and Minerva all into one person. He has standalone value on top of value with the Black Order, the current strongest team in the game in my opinion. And where can you find him? Well, he should be, it's going to be a little bit till he comes back around or so at this point, but you do need Black Bolt and 4 other Inhumans to unlock him at the 5-star level. This is important to mention because you do have to use Black Bolt for this event, and the first legendary within a legendary unlock, so do keep that in mind when you are hunting for Ebony Maw. And that's the end of my list. Now, I do want to apologize that there wasn't any real new additions to the list, just characters that were moved around. But personally, I believe that there wasn't enough changes this patch to warrant it, and I don't think Doc Ock has made enough impact at this stage to get on the top 10 list, but that's also why I kind of wanted to showcase him a little bit, and that could be subject to change in the future. If anything, I do strongly believe that next patch's top 10 list will probably bump a few people off as we introduce the new symbiote characters, which depending on the outcome could bump 2 or more down off the top 10, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Now, if you feel I missed something or you felt some characters should have been placed differently, feel free to leave that in the comments below. I'm more than happy to engage in some civil debate and discussion on the characters, or of course, if you want to join in the conversation, then please feel free to join my Discord channel, which you can find in the video description below as well. But that's all for today's video, and if you guys enjoyed it, then please smash that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already to see more videos like this. And of course, until next time guys, stay safe and I'll see y'all later. Boylon signing out.